Hey y'all, it's Shanice. This is your weekly astrology forecast for December the 25th through December the 31st, 2025. So, Christmas Day until New Year's Eve. And I will be using Mountain Time, so adjust to your time zone if you're listening to this. This is a collective read, so we are focusing on signs, degrees, and the major aspects for this week. And I'll keep it practical so you can actually use the astrology or the horoscope that I will be sharing in this episode. So, this week is a transition week, very appropriate for bringing in the new year. We start soft and sensitive, then we get a push to move and have more momentum. And by the end of the week, we are grounded and more realistic. So think of this week as a rest, momentum, and stabilized type of week. So, who's most activated this week by degrees and signs? Here's who will feel this week the loudest. If you have any personal planets or angles around these degrees, that's 12 degrees Pisces and Virgo with that node axis. So the north node is in Pisces right now at 12 degrees, and the south node is at 12 degrees in Virgo. So the north node is where our soul is trying to go, like where our higher self is trying to recognize, and the south node is old habits that we are trying to let go of. So look to your natal chart to see if you have any planets or angles at 12 degrees Pisces or Virgo. You will feel this energy that I just mentioned heavy this week. Also, 25 degrees to 29 degrees Pisces with Saturn and Neptune and the moon forming conjunctions with both of those planets. Now, we do have a Saturn and Neptune conjunction coming up in February, on February the 20th, and it will be at 0 degrees of Aries. So this is a reality check around our identity. And since Saturn has stationed direct, the beginning of December might have felt heavy for most of us, and now things are starting to click. We're starting to build more structure and momentum in whatever it is that Saturn retrograde from the summer until late November was trying to show us. And then Neptune is the planet of spirituality, illusions, dreams. And so it's at 29 degrees of Pisces, that anaretic degree. So we are seeing something wherever Pisces sits in your natal chart. We are starting to see clarity around that Pisces energy. So for example, like myself, I have Pisces in the 12th house, and I have been in isolation since Saturn has entered Pisces. And it's not literally by design. Well, I don't want to say by design, but it's not, my own doing actually, but I've noticed a lot of changes that I've made subconsciously, a lot of fears and a lot of things that that are starting to come up to the surface for me, and that I have to purge before Neptune enters Aries. Now, the next sign is Sagittarius, 26 degrees, or Pisces at 26 degrees, because we have the Mercury in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces this week, and this is happening twice. So this is a huge reality check around the way that we think or communicate, maybe the way that we get around. Has something to do with our belief system. Sagittarius and Pisces both represent that. So 2 degrees Aquarius, 2 degrees Taurus, and 2 degrees Gemini. Pluto at 2 degrees, and Aquarius is getting hit this week. So you might feel that energy, the signs that I just mentioned, the most between 2 degrees. And give or take about 2 degrees with these energies. So another sign is 27 degrees Taurus. The moon will form a conjunction with Uranus retrograde in Taurus right now. So this is sudden insight or a new way of thinking, possibly. Some sudden surprises may happen in that Taurus sector of your chart. Look to your chart to see where Taurus sits, and this is where that moon conjunct Uranus and Taurus is going to stand out the most for you, especially if you have any planets around 27 degrees in Taurus or any other fixed sign. Last but not least, is 21 to 22 degrees of Cancer and 21 to 22 degrees of Aries. The moon in Aries this week will square Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, and it also will form a conjunction to Chiron retrograde in Aries. Now, Chiron will station direct, so we are feeling some momentum build around those identity wounds. And we are starting to examine them a little bit more and see how we can take action in that area of life where Chiron is retrograde in Aries. So look to your natal chart to see if you have any angles or planets between 21 to 22 degrees Cancer or Aries. If you do not know the degrees, just listen to the themes, which are sleep, emotional sensitivity, pressure around decisions, sudden pivots, and then a strong back to basics type of reset. So, speaking of themes, the big three themes for this week are Pisces energy. It's a rest, release, and spiritual clarity type of week. Pisces energy has the tendency to kind of drift away and escape or even be overwhelmed. So, this week might be a bit harder for you to escape or do those Pisces things because we have so much energy hitting that Pisces house or the Pisces planets in your chart. And also, Mercury in Sagittarius is challenging that escapism that Pisces tends to have. The second theme is Mercury square Saturn at 26 degrees. This is what I was talking about earlier. So, this is reality checks around our thoughts and the things that we plan, also our deadline. So this is that grown up type of transit for the week. It's good for editing, planning, and being honest. Sagittarius energy loves honesty, but it can also feel like anxiety, doubt, or even some form of like mental heaviness with that Saturn energy. Saturn tends to represent the uncomfortable things that we need to build structure around in our lives. So the quick fix, or the way that I would advise people to use this energy, is to slow down and be more specific. We have a couple of planets, so Mars, the Sun, and now Venus, newly in Capricorn. So that energy is supporting the Pisces house in your chart this week. It's asking us to work with Saturn versus work against it. And the third theme is the moon transits this week. So it moves from Pisces through Aries and then finally at Taurus. So this is momentum and then some form of stability. After Pisces, the moon enters Taurus and the energy shifts fast, like it's more action based, more of an impatient or impulsive type of energy. And then Taurus comes in at the end of the week and says, okay, now what can we make more sustainable? That's the perfect vibe, especially for the end of the year. I tell people all the time to take it slow at the beginning of the year. We are in winter season, and I like to kind of mimic the seasonal changes. So just make sure you are taking things slow and you are making plans that are sustainable for your long term goals. So, how to use this week's astrology? Here's the easiest way to use this astrology forecast. So pick one thing that you are releasing this week. That's that Pisces energy. You can look to your Pisces house in your natal chart to see the themes of that house, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what you need to release. And then also pick one decision that you are committing to. So that's that Mercury and Sagittarius square Saturn energy. So try and think about something that you want to truly commit to, something that's long term and also sustainable. Last but not least, Pick one practical habit that you are stabilizing or that helps you feel comforted and that's stable. That's that Taurus energy. And that's all, honestly, you need to focus on this week. Don't try and overwhelm yourself. It's very easy with that Pisces and Sagittarius energy, but just make sure you are releasing old habits that are no longer working for you, and you can commit to something that is more sustainable and get a habit that is stabilizing for your nervous system. Now, let's get to the day by day breakdown. On Thursday, we have the Pisces Moon forming a sextile to the Sun and Mars in Capricorn, and then it will form a conjunction with the North Node later in the day. So the key energy for Thursday is gentle productivity and emotional sensitivity. This is Christmas Day. So try and be gentle with yourself. I know that it's easier said than done, but it's asking us to have some form of like soft discipline. And if you feel the need or you feel urgent about doing something with that Capricorn energy forming a sextile to Pisces, that moon in Pisces, try and just get one thing done for that for the day. And then later in the evening, we have the moon forming a conjunction to the north node and an opposition to the south node. So that's faded feelings that we need to release and also recalibrate or integrate. So the best use for Thursday's energy is like have a light plan. Try and like organize or take things slow. um Try and do some reflection if you can. I know that it's Christmas Day and that might be easier said than done for a lot of us. I do notice on social media, I don't know if it's just my feed, but a lot of people are not spending the holidays with their family. So this is a good day to reflect if you are one of those people. Now, watch out for feeling guilty about resting or taking emotions as proof of something being wrong. This is a pretty challenging year for a lot of us. So try and take it slow on Christmas Day. Now, let's get to Friday, December the 26th. We have the moon forming a square to Mercury, the moon in Pisces forming a square to Mercury in Sagittarius, and then forming a trine to Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. So, the key vibe for this day is emotional sensitivity with a bit of like mental friction with that Pisces moon square Mercury. And then we might feel comforted with that Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. So the moon square Mercury is more of like mind versus feelings. It can also show up as like being overstimulated. And then the moon trine Jupiter is more of like comfort and wanting to be around your loved ones or wanting to be at home or in your comfort zone. It's also an opportunity for some sort of emotional support. So if you are feeling overstimulated or if you are in your head with that Mercury square the moon, Jupiter trining the moon will offer some form of emotional support. So talk to someone that you feel safe with if you are feeling that Mercury square the moon transit. So the best use for Friday's energy is not to force hard conversations earlier in the day and try to do something that's cozy, that allows you to have some form of like reset for your nervous system if you are overstimulated on Friday. Also, like comfort foods and just trying to connect with your loved ones, expressing gratitude as well. Now, some things that you can watch out for on Friday is doom scrolling or overthinking, and also making a big decision while you are overstimulated or mentally agitated. Now, let's move over to Saturday. We have the Mercury square Saturn transit that I've been talking about all this episode, along with the Pisces moon forming a conjunction to Saturn and Neptune. And then the moon will enter Aries and form a square to the sun in Capricorn. So this is the first quarter moon phase that we are in on Saturday. It's the like busiest day of the week astrologically. It's like showing up as a major reality check. It can show up as like emotional heaviness around our boundaries, and we can also feel really drained or tired. Makes sense. This is right after Christmas. We are headed into the new year. A lot of people are traveling and trying to, socialize. So you might feel heavy around Saturday. You can also feel really unclear. Dreams might pop up, or you might just feel really sensitive. And then when the moon enters Aries, you might get an energy spike and a bit impulsive or impatient. You might even feel like I'm so over this type of vibe. So the first quarter moon phase is trying to like push you to some point to where you need to take action and you need to change. So think about your intentions that you set during this new moon in Sagittarius, and this will kind of show you what the first quarter moon phase is trying to push you towards, those intentions that you set for that new moon. The best use for Saturday is in the morning. Try to keep things quiet, try to keep things slow, don't overbook yourself, and rest. By the afternoon, choose one task and take decisive action towards that task. Now, watch out for forcing clarity early in the morning. You might feel unclear or emotionally foggy. You might even start snapping at people when the moon enters Aries. Also, avoid making fear based decisions with that Mercury square Saturn, because it can bring about some heaviness. So, try and pause in the morning, have a slow morning, and then by the evening, you will be able to take action, or you should be able to take action. Now, let's get to Sunday, December the 28th. We have the Aries moon forming a square to Mars in Capricorn, and then Jupiter retrograding in Cancer. And then it will form a conjunction to Chiron retrograde in Aries. So, this is an emotional reactivity type of day around our comfort wounds and where we need to grow up. It can show up as being irritable. You might feel tense, or you might feel rushed or impulsive. You might even try and overdo things with the moon squaring Jupiter and going through like emotional extremes. But then by the end of the day, you might feel a little bit vulnerable around your confidence and your identity. So, some best ways to use Sunday, December the 28th, is to move your body, work out, stretch, take a walk, just try and get that energy out of your body and do something that rebuilds your confidence in a small way. Now, watch out for picking fights or talking to yourself and telling yourself that you're behind in something, or even like trying to fix everything in one day. A journal prompt that you can use for Sunday is, what do I need to feel safe taking up space? Or what do I need to do to feel safe to take up space? Now let's move over to Monday, December the 29th. The moon will enter Taurus, forming a trine to Venus, the sun, and Mars, all in Capricorn. So Monday is actually one of the best days of the week. It's a very steady and productive type of day. We have a lot of earth energy talking positively in the cosmos. So we have some grounding energy. We might feel a bit more stable within our emotions. The moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon represents our emotional state. So we could feel a lot more grounded by Monday. But then there may be some sort of power struggle or power dynamic playing out. And you might feel a bit intense earlier in the morning, but by the later in the afternoon, most of the day, the moon will form harmonious trines to Venus, the sun, and Mars. So the best use for Monday's energy is planning. This could also be around budgeting and like your finances with that Taurus and Capricorn energy. It's also a good day to like organize your space and also to set some realistic plan for the week or even the new year. So do what you say you would do on Monday. Now, watch out for like some power struggles, control issues earlier in the day with that Pluto square, the Moon in Taurus will form a square to Pluto. So you might feel forced to like socialize or, you know, do something that goes against what makes you feel comfortable. So watch out how to see how those control issues might pop up on Monday. And also try not to get stuck in like stubbornness or like stubborn behavior, old ways. um, a journal prompt that you can use for Monday is, what's the simplest plan I can actually maintain? Now, Tuesday, December the 30th, we have Mercury in Sagittarius forming a square to Saturn again. Now, I need to look up to see if I wrote these transits down right because I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen again, but I'm going to make sure. I probably should have checked before recording this. But the Taurus moon is offering some form of support and making steady choices in our lives. So this is the more of like the final edit or final decision type of day on Tuesday. This is a day to finalize any plans, edit, schedule, budget, and also choose something that is really sustainable for you long term. Watch out for catastrophizing or being like a harsh inner critic to yourself. Um, Now, Wednesday, New Year's Eve, Mars in Capricorn will form a sextile to the North Node and a trine to the South Node. And also, the Moon in Taurus will form a conjunction to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. And then the Moon will enter Gemini and form a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. So, this is the end of the year momentum. This is also some form of like plot twist energy or like mental clarity around that Taurus sector of your chart. Um, this is almost like a productive type of karmic push. It's also offering like surprises and like change of plans. So be flexible on Wednesday. This could show up as like some sort of last minute change. And then when the moon enters Gemini, you might have more ideas. You might want to communicate more, but plan strategically with that Pluto trine. This is offering clarity for your plans. So, and to be more strategic. So, expect a change of plans on Wednesday. And again, stay flexible, have a plan B ready, and write 3 priorities that you have for January. Now, watch out for impulsive spending or making some sort of impulsive choice during that Uranus conjunction. And also, you might have some mental scatter going on with that when the moon hits Gemini. So, choose 1 to 2 priorities on New Year's Eve. And a journal prompt that you can have or you can use for New Year's Eve is, what do I want to commit to for January without overdoing it? Now, some good dates. I wanted to say great, good dates for the week to work with the astrology is December the 29th and also December the 31st. We have some days that we can like plan and execute, organize, and it's also offering like clarity, some sort of strategy about a decision that we need to make. Now, some caution windows would be December the 27th, December the 28th, and December the 31st. You could feel unclear. You could feel emotionally heavy, also reactive about your emotions on the flip side of things. You could also have some wounds around your confidence, and also like impulsiveness. So, this is a pretty like on brand week for the end of the year based on the astrology. Like all of the astrology definitely fits the end of the year and what most of us are going through. Now, I want to talk about the Saturn and Neptune conjunction again in February. I don't know if it's just my social media feed, but I see a lot of videos that are ego driven around astrology and like spirituality. It feels like a lot of people left religion, like the church, and those traditional settings, and they went straight to spirituality, and not much of what they believe has changed. A lot of people are very ego driven when it comes to those topics. And I see a lot of people talk about like hexing other folks or like not posting their chart because other people can manipulate. That's not how this energy works. Astrology is an observation tool, and it also is like a timing tool. No human on this planet is controlling the planets. No human has that much influence over planetary movement. And when you are reading a chart, you're not living that person's life. So when you read a chart, it basically gives you, you can have interpretations of a chart, but again, you're not living that person's life. So you're at best making an educational observation based on their chart. I see a lot of people that are living in fear around spiritual practices and even religious practices. And that Saturn and Neptune is offering a reality check around those topics. Neptune representing the things that we can't see, the things that are beyond the veil. And Saturn is the truth. And at 0 degrees, this is asking us to get grounded around our identities, but also in our spiritual practices. So, again, there are a lot of people who are ego driven and fear based around astrology and spirituality. I'll even go as far as talking about people dressing candles and doing magic. A lot of that is strictly fictional and for, movies and books, things that you can get lost in, that Pisces energy, things that you can escape with, but it's not reality of Earth. And I just wanted to say that. So, like, a lot of people are going to have a reality check around those topics come February the 20th. Now, that doesn't mean February the 20th that everything will just fall apart. Again, astrology is a timing tool. So it basically is something that manifests over time. And one advice or suggestion I could give is to track the transits and also journal about them, what's going on in your life and what's showing up for you. This is all very personal. So that's this week. Pisces is asking us to reset and let go. Aries is offering a push, and Taurus is asking us to stabilize something. And also, Gemini is offering clarity with that Pluto trine. So keep it simple this week, keep it honest, and let your plans be realistic. If this was helpful, subscribe. New weekly forecast will drop every Thursday, and I post short form reminders on Instagram and Facebook. So if you would like, you can drop a comment with your sun, moon, and rising, or just tell me what degrees you have around 12, 26, and 27 degrees, because those are the hot points this week. And until next time, peace.